What we're building today is a basic home system. Nothing schmancy, nothing high quality other than the quality, but certainly low cost. I know, don't I? Just do goofy things. We're going to start with a basic case. We're going to slap the motherboard in here, and everything else is going to be in here when we're done. But what's going in it? Well, we're going to start with a power supply. Basic power supply, nothing fancy. But we are going to put in a high-end Wi-Fi adapter, because even just for home use, you'll want it to be quick. We're going to use a B450 HDV motherboard. This thing will support the CPU and the memory we're putting in it very well. And it doesn't cost a bunch. We're putting in a Ryzen 3 3200G. This has got graphics embedded in the CPU, so we don't have to throw in a graphics card. And if you've been paying attention, you know right now graphics cards are very expensive. Well, we're going to try to avoid that cost. Then we're going to put in an NVMe M.2 SSD. This one's not large. Most of ours that we start with are a ½ terabyte. This is a ¼ terabyte, but will do fine for home use, and again allows us to sell the PC for less. And last but not least, memory. Computer's no good if it can't think about things and remember what it is it was trying to think about. Well, we got memory here. It's not RGB, which means there's no flashing lights on it. But because of that, it's less expensive and still does the job and does it well. That's all the parts we got, and we're going to hit pause until we start actually building. Alright, first thing we're going to put in is the power supply. As you can see, this is not a modular power supply. It's a basic power supply. It'll do everything we need for what this system's designed to do. We'll start that right away. Alright, power supply is in the case now. The next thing will be to mount the motherboard in the case, and that's going to take a little bit of time, but we'll get started on it right away. The I/O shield goes into the case and will then have various connections on the motherboard go through it. You always want to put the I/O shield in to make sure that the motherboard doesn't get damaged or shocked. It can be a pain because every case is a little different. Every I/O shield is a little different because every motherboard's a little different. And you can cut yourself pretty easily with it too. I did that already. But because I'm a tough guy, I didn't cry. And there we go. I/O shield is in. Alright, the motherboard is in. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All 6 mount spots have been mounted to standoffs, so we're ready to go with the next part in this cavalcade hit parade, which will be the CPU insertion. The CPU is in. This is a Ryzen 3 3200G. The G stands for graphics, which means we don't have to put an expensive graphics card in it. So when you buy the machine, you won't pay for an expensive graphics card. It's in the socket. It's been seated properly and latched into place. Next, we'll be removing these 2 braces and installing the air cooler. Okay. In order to put this cooler on this CPU, we're going to have to take these braces out first. So that's what we're going to do next. Woohoo! The trick is going to be to try to put this down on these 4 screw mounts right here and seat it without damaging anything. First we have to line it up just right, and then with our granddaughter's assistance we'll screw it into place. Well, there it is. It's in there, and next we're going to put in memory. Yep. Time to insert the RAM DIMM, which sends my daughter into a grinning fit just about. You'll notice, if you look at it, that there's a hole in the middle, but it's not quite in the middle. One end's a little shorter than the other end. That's on purpose. That way, you can only put it in the right way, because where this little hole is, there's a notch in the DIMM socket that allows us to only put it in the right way. Now we're going to flip back the little mount notch here, and I'm going to slide it in. And if we do this right, this latch back here will click into place. Let's see if it does. Oh, there it went. And it clicked on this side too. That's how you put RAM in. It has memory. Alright, next in is this little creature. It's a Hewlett-Packard SSD. It's an EX900 M2 model. Has 250 gig of storage in it, which is about enough to hold the average school library plus about 39 more of them. This will go in to this Ultra M2 slot right here. And that's what we're going to do next. No woohoo. Inserting an M2 requires that you angle it in at a 33-degree angle. I don't know why it's 33 degrees, it just is. And slide it in just like you just saw me do. And then press it down till it's seated on the standoff in front of it. At which point, we're going to try to put this little teeny tiny screw that mounts it into place. And my very capable granddaughter, Shay, just finished putting the screw on it. Now I'm going to try to hold it and drop it into place without sending it skittering across the universe. And it looks like we have success. There you go. Storage is done. The motherboard's in. The storage is in. The memory's in. The CPU's in. The power supply's in. Now what do we want to do with all these? Because this isn't a modular power supply, we got all these extra cables. Well, we're going to shove those in this hole right here, the ones we aren't going to use. But in the meantime, while my granddaughter Shaylin is acting over there, we're going to plug in the ones we do need. Power to the motherboard, power to the CPU. We got to plug the CPU fan in, and we got to plug in our two fans that we have built into the chassis. So we're going to do that and then show you what it looks like when we're all done. It's been a hot day at the shop, but we got it going. If you look at this, it's messy, but all the wires are now plugged in where they need to be, and the wires that we don't need are tucked away in case they're ever needed in the future. Now we're ready to do the most critical portion of this. Power it up and see if magic smoke appears. Okay. Alright, so we've put everything together, and in the process, one of the front covers decided to come loose because it was being uncooperative. So we'll have to put that back in place later and just keep it where it won't fall for right now. The moment of truth, where we hit the power button and see what happens. I forgot to turn the power supply on first. Right here in the back where you can't see it is a switch with a 0 and a 1 on it. So that the computer can work, you have to flick it to the 1 position. Now, here we go again. Lights, fans, it's doing things. We like that. Alright. Now we're going to flutter this delete button up for a whole long time. The computer is looking at all this hardware that just got attached to itself. So everybody's getting acquainted, talking to each other, explaining how they work. And the motherboard and the CPU were working with that, trying to figure it all out. Eventually, something will happen on the screen. After it does. Oh, there it is! Okay, everything works so far. We see, it sees our processor, our Ryzen 3 3200G with Radeon Vega graphics. That's what the G stands for. That's how fast that processor spins. That means it's doing 3.6 billion instructions every second. It's not exactly slow. Okay, we're going to go to advanced. And we're going to see there's nothing there that looks weird. We like that. Now we're going to go to the OC tweaker because we want to set this RAM to its actual speed, which, if I remember correctly, was 3200 megahertz. Alright, now it'll set to that so it'll go at its faster speed instead of this slower speed here. Okay, let's take a look at the boot. Oh good, it sees the HP. We like that, good. But we want it to boot to this flash drive in the back there that has Windows on it, because we're about to do the Windows install. Everything looks good. We're going to get started.
Go.
On the screen is the beginning of Windows installation. She booted up fine. She's doing well. We're going to install Windows on her, put a product key in her, and then slap her skins on her. This is an Associate Lite LTE. It will sell for roughly $550, or with your discount about $525, $520. It'll be available in 3 more days. We'll be tuning it up before we leave today, and then we'll set it on burn-in for 3 days straight to make sure that everything in it functions just the way it's supposed to be. After that, it'll be ready for you here at Abcentra Computers.